So there's been a lot of talk in the press recently about electoral pacts ahead of this general election coming up on the 12th of December. So the Brexit Party had their high-profile unilateral pact, which is kind of an oxymoron because how can you have a pact which symbolises an agreement between two parties when it's unilateral? But hey-ho, that's what everyone's calling it. So we have the Brexit Party with their unilateral pact, and you also have the United Remain mob, the Lib Dems, Greens, and Plaid Cymru. That's it. How much difference is this actually going to make? Now, everyone I have spoken to, or the majority of people I've spoken to, seem to think that this pact between the Brexit Party and Conservatives in particular is going to be extremely profitable for the Conservative Party. And I can see that in a couple of seats that might be true. But there's a couple of seats in particular that I want to draw your attention to. Derby North and Portsmouth South. So the unilateral decision that the Brexit Party made was that they were not going to stand in 317 seats that the Conservatives won in 2017. That does include seats like Broxtowe, seats like excuse me, all of the seats of the sort of rebellious Tories, Nick Bowles' seat, Beaconsfield, places like that. So yeah, you've got all these seats that they're not standing in, but then you have got seats that they are standing in, where the Conservatives stand a high chance of taking over, and the Brexit Party might actually split the vote. Look at Derby North. Derby North, this election is going to be extremely exciting for all sorts of reasons, and none of them are good. So you've got the Greens standing. You've got Chris Williamson standing as an independent socialist candidate. You have the Labour Party, who have got the local regional leader of Unite, the union, standing against Chris Williamson. This guy has had a campaign against Chris Williamson basically since day one, trying to kick him out because Chris Williamson supported mandatory reselection, which a lot of the union types really, really, really dislike. But they're quite similar otherwise, policy-wise. You've got the Lib Dems standing, you've got the Conservatives standing, and you've got the Brexit Party standing. This seat has been Conservative before. The duration of the small period between 2015 and 2017, it was Conservative. Amanda Soloway, who was the MP at that time, is the Conservative candidate there. But the Brexit Party have their candidate standing there anyway. Now, the Brexit Party candidate in Derby North is a guy called Alan Graves Senior. Alan Graves Senior is well known in Derby because he was the leader of UKIP in the Derby Council, which was involved in the coalition government, or the coalition council, I should say, last year. And he ran for UKIP MEP in the European elections and then defected to the Brexit Party, after saying almost 3 or 4 days earlier that he would never ever defect from UKIP. He would stay with UKIP because he felt that Farage was on an ego trip and that the Brexit Party was a big sham. And then went and defected to the Brexit Party anyway and took every single Derby councillor he had in UKIP with him. So I think that's 5 or 6 councillors he's taken to the Brexit Party. So the Brexit Party have a local presence. Now, could this harm Amanda Soloway? I don't know, is the honest answer. I expect her to win, but if the Brexit Party stepped aside, they would guarantee that they would have a pro-Brexit, not a hard right as such, but she's pretty close to that ilk, Conservative MP in Derby North, but Alan Graves is still going to stand. Portsmouth South is another interesting one. Portsmouth South, you've got, I forget his name, Stephen Morgan, new Labour MP in 2017. Now, the interesting thing with that seat is it has been Labour, it's been Lib Dem, it's been Tory. It is a swing seat. It is a marginal. It is a three-way marginal. Now, the Conservative candidate in Portsmouth South is the former leader of the council. Actually, I think she might still be the leader of the council, although I could be wrong about that, down there. So she has been apparently in the press asking the Brexit Party candidates to step down, and one of them actually did. But then they replaced him. So we have a situation where we have a three-way marginal, and the only pro-Brexit candidate who is in a party that has won a seat in that election is facing stiff competition from the Brexit Party. So if you wanted Brexit, you have two choices, whereas, yeah, it's a bit difficult because you're splitting the vote there. But then you could also argue that the Lib Dems and the Labour MP for that seat are both people's vote campaigners. They're both extremely ardent Remainers, so the vote is split there. So that's going to be a really interesting seat. That could go anywhere. Just a couple of examples of why these pacts I don't think amount to much. Because they are pacts for convenience amongst mostly small parties that probably can't afford to stand in every seat anyway. How much of these pacts are because of financial constraints and they're disguising it as a political issue, and how much of it is actually because of the political issue? I don't know. And we're seeing that the Brexit Party don't have the funds to pay for their campaign. I mean, look at the Sky News did a big thing on amount of ads being spent on online, amount of money being spent on online ads, and the general consensus seems to be that the Brexit Party is floundering. They're in fourth place. But there we go. That's my views on all this. I think it's a bit of a muchness, honestly. So we shall see what happens come election day.